So I was like, after she responded talking about she didn't want to talk, business shouldn't be that hard, and she was overwhelmed. Oh, bitch. I text her directly. I said, Natasha, you motherfucking tried it. You motherfucking tried it. You don't think it's been tough for me being your friend? It has. I've been using my mama as therapy dealing with you. I've been dealing. My mama been told me to cut your ass off. She never trusted you. I've been defending you. Overlooking things, red flags that I would have cut somebody off a long time ago for much less. Because I loved you, and I still do. Because when you love somebody, it don't just go away. Even if they stabbed you in the heart, not the back, bitch. Natasha, you stabbed me in my heart. So you guys, since this is my testimony, and it's long, so if y'all don't want to listen to it, cut it off. But you ain't gonna get no reading from me until you hear my story. Anyways, I don't know if she responded, because after that I blocked her. I just needed to say my piece and cuss that bitch out, because after that I already knew how I was gonna move and handle the situation. You ain't got to say nothing else, because if she had responded and said anything to me as slick as she said in the first time when I tried to humble myself and ask her why she wasn't answering so I could ask her, Natasha, if she wasn't overwhelmed, Natasha knew she was being grimy. That's why she wouldn't answer me. That's why she was so overwhelmed. She wouldn't even look at me. What a weak ass bitch. If you gonna do something that grimy, Natasha, you gotta be willing to stand in that bitch. If I ain't teach you nothing else, it's to stand in the motherfucking paint. Don't be scared. If you gonna call me to a match, bitch, don't call me to a match. Don't sneak me. No. Square up with me. Square up. Don't sneak me. That's what she did. She snuck me and then ran off and hid behind Andrew. I knew you was a weak bitch, but I didn't know that you was a snake. I didn't know you was a snake. I know you had snake tendencies, Natasha, but I thought you were harmless. No. Unbeknownst to you guys, Natasha, Andrew, and my subscribers, towards March, April, I start feeling a pain right here. This is my left breast, in case you don't know. My heart is right here. Around the time that the proposal to start business was brought to me, I start having a pain right here because I was so scared to do this business. And I told Andrew, Natasha, you don't know this, but I told Andrew, I'm nervous about Natasha. I'm nervous about doing business with Natasha because I've been working alongside of her as an agent. And I have seen things. I've seen Natasha almost get us herself locked up trying to sell a piece of property that belonged to an ICE agent doing a fraudulent deal. And Natasha pretended like she didn't know that it was fraud, but she did. Because before she got to that closing table, she asked me if I thought that the person trying to buy the property was a real person, and I told her no. Natasha was trying to doctor documents. Natasha was trying to create a fake ID for this man just so that he can get through the title company when they did their check. Natasha knew that that was not a real deal, but she also knew that if it got to the closing table and got through the title company, all she needed was to get her little money, and the responsibility might fall on the title company, because they're the ones who run the ID and check and make sure everybody is legit. Natasha asked me. Natasha also was telling me that she was trying to doctor documents to help this deal go through. I told Natasha that person ain't real, calling her from a WhatsApp number, somebody from Africa. Can't come up with documentation. She knew. Our broker at Next Home had to bail Natasha out of that. And when she asked me to go to Orlando with her, I knew she knew, but she was scared that it was really a setup with the police. That's why she wanted me to go with her. I was scared too, because Natasha was meeting these people in Dunkin' Donuts and she was getting ready to accept cash under the table. I had a conversation with my broker about it, and I decided then that Natasha and I would never mix business. And my broker, Natasha Courtney Moody, told me never to mix my business with you. As soon as we left, because when we were in that closing, they confronted Natasha. They did. They set her ass up. Because the man doing the deal knew when he saw the contract with all of its misspelled words and stuff, he knew that it was fraud. And he went all the way through because he was trying to see who all was involved in this before he confronted everybody and called the authorities. When I got there, I introduced myself as just her friend. I had nothing to do with the deal. And at some point, I went in the bathroom so I could pull some cards because those men sounded like undercover agents. Before we parked, Natasha circled the parking lot and asked me if I saw any police cars. She was nervous that it was it, but she wanted that deal to go through. They confronted Natasha and told her that they did research and found out that the man trying to buy the property wasn't legit. And they were pressing Natasha to see if she was a part of that man's fraud. We got out of there, hot back on the road. 15 minutes into traveling from Orlando back to Ocala, the man that confronted her that she was trying to sell the property to called her. And before he can ask Natasha's permission, he called the real person who owns the property on three-way. Because he called Natasha and said, "Did you know that the property is owned by an ICE agent, a federal agent?" Natasha said no. That man said, "Hold on, I'm about to get him on the phone." Natasha couldn't even say a word. That man had already called that ICE agent with Natasha on the phone. And I was sitting in the car with her. I kept looking back to see if the feds was behind us. I was so mad at her. I was so mad at her for asking me to go with her, knowing she wanted me to go with her because she was scared she was going to get busted. And you pulled me into this. I don't do janky business. That's why I told Andrew, I'll do business with Natasha, but only if I'm doing the back end stuff. I didn't want you to get involved in the back end stuff because I know what you'll do for $1. But that ain't my place to judge. Andrew decided to bring you on. I'm responsible for myself. Andrew said I'll take the both of y'all, so I wasn't going to throw you under the bus, sis. But I did tell him I didn't trust you in the back end business for good reason, because you almost got locked the fuck up trying to sell an ICE agent's property, knowing it wasn't his, knowing it wasn't on the up and up. I was hurt by Natasha. And I blocked her after I said what I said to her, cussed her ass out. Um, but unbeknownst to them, around March or April, when I started courting them for the business, I was really stressed out about it. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it because it required me to trust them. And I got trust issues. And I didn't know if I wanted to go into business with Natasha. So like I said, it all boiled down to me pulling cards. And I got the justice card. To me, that told me to sign the contract and go into business. But I had noticed around that time a tenderness here under my breast. It was just this one little spot, but I assume that my body's just changing because I'll be 37 this year. I noticed my cycle change also, like my PMS symptoms, the ones that I've always had since I've had my cycle. I didn't have them anymore. Thank God, because a lot of the symptoms I had were annoying. These days, I stopped having symptoms altogether, and I was grateful for that. However, tender boobs was always a symptom to me, and I would have those from the time I ovulated up until like the second day of my period. It was just this breast, though, that was tender in that one spot. So I didn't pay any attention. At first, I thought, okay, well, my period is coming on, so my boob is getting tender. My cycle came on, went off. That cycle, I had hot flashes as well during that cycle. So I thought for sure, my body's just changing. I might be going through the change early. Who knows? But I didn't pay that much attention to it. But I noticed after my cycle went off, the pain stayed. The pain didn't go away. It did in this boob. But this pain right here stayed. And so I remember those nights, because it's like putting on a bra, I would feel it, and it's like, the fuck is that? So during those nights, I would lay in bed, and I would, lay down on my back, put my arm up, and I'd feel around. My grandmother passed away from breast cancer. She got diagnosed in her late 30s, got her breast removed, went into remission for 20-something years, and then 20-something years later, it had came back, but with a vengeance, and not just in her breast, but all over. That's what she passed away from. And so I knew that we, descendants of her, had to be extra careful. My mother has had a hysterectomy because she had a very cysty uterus. She had a very cysty breast. They were always benign, but it just is what it is.